So if you guys have anything more to add to this after watching this video, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. It would be really interesting to know what you guys think on the whole Kim Possible movie. What's up guys, my name is Splice Knight, welcome back to Reflections, and today we're talking about Kim Possible, my favorite cartoon as a kid. So if you've been watching this channel at all in the past, you may have seen a video I did about feminism and kind of the way that strong female characters are demonstrated more through actions versus words, and being told that they're great characters without any actual sort of physical evidence to back that up. Now, that being said, one of my examples happened to be Kim Possible, and the reason I did this is because I always found, both growing up and going back to it later as an adult, that there are a lot of examples within the show of strong female characters, first of all, who are almost led by their actions, and that is their entire attitude and just general dogma is working by their actions, demonstrating who they are as people through what they do as opposed to what they say, because your words don't generally mean nearly as much without some sort of demonstrative backup. But the reason we're talking about Kim Possible today specifically has more to do with the fact that there's a new movie coming out. And this is something that the Kim Possible fandom, if you're a part of it, or if you have been on the internet for any decent amount of time and are interested in, you may be familiar with Kim Possible. Why do I say this? Because the show was massively popular. It was a cultural phenomenon. It spread crazy far. So there are a lot of people who have a lot of close held love for this particular character and the properties that come with it. Now that said, there is something that needs to be made aware of. The fact is, this coming up movie, so many people are waiting for because they've been just waiting for something Kim Possible for a long time. It's being made in live action, and the problem with that is that a lot of Disney's live action movies have a tendency to, how do I put this? Suck? I don't mean to say that as, oh, fuck Disney, blah, 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 because that's a whole nother argument, and I would get destroyed by all the Disney lover people who will not listen to a rational argument as to why Disney itself is kind of skewed in a shitty way. The thing about this particular movie coming out that makes me nervous is that it's being done in live action, and as I've said, Disney doesn't have the greatest history with live action. Now, that being said, the great thing about Kim Possible in particular is the fact that a lot of what was done in the show was stuff that is relatively realistic. It's got a very grounded tone to it. It has this idea of superheroes within the bounds of a grounded logic, which was further exemplified by the idea that Kim was able to do a lot of the fantastical things she did because, one, she's incredibly smart, having two scientifically backed parents, as well as also being a cheerleader and someone who has always had the mentality driven into them that anything is possible for a Possible, which is her last name, and therefore anything is possible for her as long as she decides to go for it. And that kind of mentality goes a long way, first of all. But more importantly, the fact of the matter is the show itself had a serious love of grounding characters in a sense of realism, and the benefit for the movie is that it's actually being written by the original creators, the original writers of the TV show. So hopefully they're able to pull off something that still feels grounded and still feels within the confines of the narrative that's already been set up. They haven't said whether or not it's going to be after the last episode, which would have been Graduation Part 2, which is basically where Kim and Ron actually graduate from high school, and there's this whole other extraneous event that goes on that had been previously hinted at in a previous episode of said season, and kind of just encapsulates the full growth of both characters into competent, fulfilled individuals. Now, there have been references to the show in various different media. If you're a fan of Marvel's The Avengers, you'll know Black Widow and Hawkeye as sort of their wink wink nudge nudge reference to Kim Possible. And of course, it's been put up everywhere as a meme when you realize these guys are these guys. And I mean, I get what they're saying, I get the representation, and they are probably the closest live action thing we've seen to Kim Possible to date. If we get something like that in the live action movie, I would be elated. But again, we don't know whether this is going to be more reboot style, we don't know whether or not this is going to be a continuation from maybe a college standpoint, and they're able to sort of mentor and put people into a positive mindset by influencing kids who are following a similar sort of through line in their own personal endeavors. Now that really is a lot of different things that could be unpacked. Now they've had 16 years to put this in development. I don't know when it started, but they are currently looking for actors and actresses to be put into the roles of Kim and Ron and the supporting cast. Now, who do we think that is? That is really something I've been trying to get information on from Bob Schooly, the co-creator of the show, but we will definitely have to keep waiting for updates on what's going to happen in the future. Now that said, if you're interested in following this with me, don't forget to follow my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, because I do post a fair bit, so I will definitely be updating further on Kim and Ron as the live action movie comes into fruition. And honestly, I'm just really excited to see where this goes. I really hope that they do it justice, considering they have so many years of expectation being built. And like the Star Wars series that has come out recently, a lot of people have had their hopes and dreams sort of dashed, especially since a lot of these people had grown up with certain expectations of the franchise, only to have it completely challenged by the newer, updated version. Now, whether or not we have this in the new Kim Possible movie, in a good or a bad way, don't know. I'm really curious to see what they do with it. I just hope that in the end it's a fantastic movie and a beautiful installation, and possibly an inspiration to starting the series back up anew. Because honestly, I would be beyond elated to finally see more Kim Possible on screen in a modern interpretation. One of the things that Kim Possible has always been noted as being way ahead of the curve for is knowing inventions, first of all, that make logical sense. For example, they had a sort of camera FaceTime sort of style communicator, and then they put it on the wristwatch, which ended up being followed up essentially by iPhone with the iPhone and FaceTime, as well as the iWatch, though they haven't really implemented the FaceWatch chat feature so far as I'm aware. Now that would be really cool, but we have to see where that goes. And I'd like to see what they do with the future's changed narrative, given the technological advances that we've had, as well as where exactly we're going to go with things in the future, what the shifts in technology mean, how are we going to face our villains of the current day with these modern audiences that are going to be viewing it. Obviously, some of the things that are approached here are very different now than they were when they were originally airing, and that's going to probably change a lot of the dynamic and attitude, and I'm really excited, but I'm also really nervous because I don't want them to fuck this up, basically, is what I'm trying to say, get across, and hopefully you guys understand that, because honestly, I don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, because honestly, I'm worried, but also cautiously optimistic. I know because Bob Schooly and Escort family team of people have actually worked on a previous live action. If you guys are familiar with Sky High, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend checking it out. Now, the thing about this particular live action is the fact that it was done by them, it was written by them, and they had a lot of the similar people from the Kim Possible team working on this particular project. Now, the reason this is significant is because, first of all, the movie was actually fantastically well done. It had a decently grounded feeling for superheroes, and it was well written enough that you didn't feel like the show was, or the movie, I guess, was completely a departure from reality, and it didn't feel like something you could not get interested in. I would honestly say it was one of the first real live-action superhero movies that was done well. I mean, you can have comparisons like Ben 10 and others that I don't even remember, but those are generally done in the way of, hey, let's kind of just make it uncomfortable to watch this show. And I would really appreciate it if they didn't do that to Kim Possible, because they still had Man of Action working on the live action of Ben 10, so we don't know necessarily how well this is going to work out or anything in that regard. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. My name's Splice Knight. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also notifications, because as we all know at this point, YouTube doesn't let you know when anyone uploads anything. So please make sure to hit that notification bell. And of course my social media if you want to keep up to date on anything at all. that is definitely the place to do it. I will answer any and all questions in the comments down below. If you have anything to counterpoint me or add to the discussion, I really would appreciate it. Anyway, thanks so much guys, my name is Splice Knight, and I will see you guys later. Splice out.